Hello and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad you could join us. Look, advertising digitally is a really good way to grow and scale your business. As a matter of fact, right now we're scaling Credit Suite just by spending more money every month to get more leads into our funnel and more customers as a result. But here's the problem. What we found before when we tried to do this and failed is that you have to have the right metrics. If you're doing any kind of digital marketing, if you're not looking at the right metrics, the right KPIs, the right analytics, you're going to spend a lot of money and fall flat on your face, which is what's happened to us. I don't want that to happen to you. So I brought on an expert today that's going to talk to us about digital marketing. He's going to talk to us about the analytics, the metrics, what you need to be tracking to make sure that anything you're doing with digital ad spend is successful. So with us today is JP Clement. Now, he is the CEO of boomtime. He has over 30 years of experience in marketing, digital strategy, and project management for companies ranging from startups to global brands such as Madison Square Garden, General Mills, DFS Group Ltd, Johnson and National National Geographic, amongst many others. Now, JP has worked for or helped companies in both the B2C, the business to consumer, and the B2B, the business to business sectors, and founded 3 digital strategy and marketing agencies after working for many years on the corporate side of marketing. Now, his passion are analytics, digital products, and creating the right strategy at the right time for the right audience. JP, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited you can be here, man, because I've never covered this topic, and I think it's really important. I mean, in my case, we started to scale. We didn't get the end result equivalent to the money we put in the front end ad spend. I'm sure you hear about this all the time.
Yes.
And then we realized there's all these metrics in between that we needed to be monitoring that we weren't monitoring. So, but from your perspective, how can analytics help with the growth of a business, and how can analytics help with, digital marketing?
Well, so it's a it's a pretty complex subject, but yes, analytics to me at least, and I think many people would agree with me, is an integral part and a crucial part of the whole digital marketing universe and aspects of digital marketing. I tell my team and I tell people I work with and clients that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So it's imperative that, in everything you do in digital marketing, pretty much you set KPIs, you set targets, you look at benchmarks, and you measure everything that you do. So then you can first monitor it and see whether you're doing the right thing, and your campaigns are working the way they should be working. And also, so you can change them or modify them to get the results that you're expecting. So analytics is something I've been thinking about and doing my whole marketing career, starting at General Mills, where they really told me that marketing was not just an art, it was also very much a science, and numbers and analytics were something that was critical. To this day, where we spend a lot of time at boomtime working on analytics for our clients and generating the right data to make the right decisions. So critical, but there are many layers, which I'm sure we're going to be diving into in terms of analytics. The last thing I would say though is that digital marketing is the perfect tactic or methodology, if you want, to use analytics with. It's been a boon to marketers and digital marketers specifically, since it's been in existence, because you can measure pretty much everything you do in digital marketing, which is great, which was not quite the case in the good old days of traditional marketing, which I experienced because I've been doing this for a long time.
That's awesome. Explain to me where this problem occurs. Somebody comes in, they spend more, but they don't get the end result. What's usually happening? I'm sure you've seen that in your world. What happens in the metrics in between that they're not monitoring that they should be?
Yeah, so every company and every campaign is going to have different metrics, but typically, there is definitely a point of diminishing returns for everything in digital marketing, including digital advertising. And also, in some cases, you might there are other things that may be coming into play. So you have to be careful about what's going on with your competition. Are you being outbid for some keywords that you're buying? For instance, if you're doing some Google ads, are people using different, different keywords, different keyword groups. There are a lot of factors that are at play, but you tend to see a lot of diminishing returns, and there is a kind of an inflection point where if you start spending more, you're not going to see the same kind of results. It also, as I mentioned, you have to understand all the dynamics that come into play and make sure that you have, done your research and done your thinking and strategize before you even get into anything like this. A lot of the issues we see with companies that we work with is that they really started doing something without really a concrete set of objectives and benchmarks and targets. So therefore, they're just saying, yeah, I'm spending all of this money, but I'm not seeing the results. So what I'm saying, my first question is like, what results were you expecting? What were you trying to achieve? And a lot of the time, these companies don't have the actual answers to those questions. So I think you start with strategy, you start with research, and then you put your campaigns in place, and then you monitor, the basic KPIs, and those numbers, if you know how to interpret them, will tell you where the issues are in that whole funnel of digital marketing.
So when we're looking at these numbers, JP, what numbers do you think are the most important numbers for that we really need to be tracking?
Yeah, again, it's going to vary, but no, it's going to be a little bit on a case-by-case basis. But typically, the things I really want our clients to focus on and my team to focus on, because we actually are, I'm a client to one of my teams. So I keep telling them, hey, what I want to see is mostly conversion rates and cost per acquisition, which I think we deal mostly with B2B businesses. But so those metrics are pretty critical. But of course, cost per click and all these other things, click-through rates, and those things are important. But in the end, you need to be able to acquire the right type of customer at the right price.
Makes sense. So I'm reading a book now, and there's all kinds of different things in terms into it that we look at. So talk about some of these. Like, is it important when we look at, what do we look at when it comes to getting a new customer or getting a lead? Do we look at a CPC? Do we look at a cost per click? Should we be measuring at a cost per impression, or do we look at like a cost per lead? Or what do you think is most important with getting leads that we should be looking at?
Yeah, first, I think you have to first define what the value of a lead is. So then you can compute the ROI of your campaign, right? So if your lead is worth, let's say, to use a round number, $1,000 to you, because you know what the lifetime value of your customer is, and if you close that lead, then you can generate X amount of dollars. But let's say like a good quality lead is $1,000. That gives you a sense of what you can spend on marketing, than on CPC or on cost of per acquisition, to generate those leads. So that's I think the first computation I would do as a digital marketer. I said, okay, what's lead worth to me? Then CPC is very critical, obviously, because that's going to define how much you're paying for each one of these potential leads. But then you have to also think about the conversion rate. So for every person that clicks on your ad that comes to your website, for instance, or you could be pointing them to a Facebook page or a LinkedIn company page or something, it doesn't really matter, but that gets there. So every click that you're paying X CPC for, what is going to be what is your average conversion rate, or what is your target conversion rate for those people? So if your CPC is $1, but you're converting only 1% of these people into leads, then the cost of acquisition is $100 per, right? And how does that work? If a good lead is worth $1,000 to you, you're spending $100 to acquire one. Of course, the ROI is pretty good, right? It's 10 times your investment. So I think you have to look at all these different numbers to be able to have the whole picture of, is what I'm doing working in general, but is it working for me specifically, given my objectives and given my financial dynamics?
Why is this so important? I mean, what's really the importance of these facts and numbers and making decisions based on that? Because I think in general, Facebook's made it really easy for people to advertise when they have no experience, right? To run up an ad. And I have a friend that did that. You know, she got her ad on Facebook and immediately started getting really cheap leads, and those leads start converting and everything's fantastic. So they make it so easy to get into it. But why is measuring every aspect of this so important when you're doing any kind of digital marketing?
Well, because I think your friend's experience is probably 1 in a million. Typically, you're going to do this, and if you don't do it correctly, you're going to find that you're spending a lot of money and not getting any leads or getting very low quality leads. So if you don't look at all the elements of that kind of what I would call quote unquote this digital advertising funnel, right? All these steps where there's a cost involved to you as a marketer. If you don't look at every one of these steps, you'll never know why. It'll be almost impossible to figure out why your campaigns are not performing. So looking at all these elements is, and they're all interconnected. Obviously, they all kind of feed into one another. But if you have that experience, and if you don't go to an agency or someone or a consultant that knows how to do that, but if you can interpret those each numbers in that each one of the numbers in that funnel, then you'll be able to make the right decisions, because you'll be able to interpret correctly what is going on in your campaigns. So we have and also you have to understand all the dynamics and how these things are. So Facebook makes it very easy. Google makes it very easy as well. But because there is a lot of for Google specifically, and Facebook to a certain extent, but it's not as complex. You need to understand the bidding process, how these things work, the difference between doing a traffic campaign, so meaning just get a bunch of people to my website or to my Facebook page, versus I want conversions, which is very different. You need to advertise differently. You need to do, I would say, a lot of cases do A/B testing on your campaign creative, meaning use different keywords, different wording, different USPs, unique selling propositions, whatever you want to you need to do. But there are a lot of variables that come into this, and you have to be able to look at every single one of these variables and look at the numbers behind them to be able to decide whether things are working or not, or figure out why they're not working if they're not working.
Now, you guys do, JP, a lot of automation in what you do, right?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different marketing, digital marketing activities. Going from email marketing to PPC campaigns, like you described, to organic, campaigns, content campaigns, to content marketing, content generation, to social media campaigns. We do a bunch of different things, but so for us, it's imperative that we have very solid processes, we built a system for ourselves. It's a proprietary system that we built. It's basically we call it a marketing as a service platform, we use that to automate and our campaigns, and also to track the results of all our campaigns. So we generate a lot of data, and all that data goes into our system, so we can look at the efficiency and effectiveness of what we do for our clients.
So what the automation that you guys do, how beneficial is that to the end customer, and why is it beneficial?
Well, I think automation has a lot of positives, but mainly when we talk about automation for us, it's about efficiency. So that means that we have to have less input from a person, which with all the attendant potential issues like making mistakes, human errors and things like that. And also because so that creates a lot of efficiency. So that time that our people don't spend on actually doing some menial, kind of rote kind of tasks, is time they can spend actually strategizing with our client, looking at the data, refining the campaigns, and so on. There's another one, which is scalability, which for us is pretty critical. So automation enables scalability. So we can do more campaigns at the same time. We can do multiple campaigns for a client for the same cost that we would do one campaign, if we didn't have this automation. So there is a lot of issue there. And then there are two other things with automation that are great. One is repeatability, and the other one, they're kind of related, but the repeatability and consistency. And it's really critical because, digital marketing, as I said, it's an art, but it's a science too. And there are ways to do things that have been proven to work and that we've refined ourselves, our processes to make sure. So automation enables us to do the same thing consistently across campaigns, across clients, which means that the quality of what we get is very repeatable. So we can get consistently good results because we have systems and processes in place. Actually, the processes are embedded into our system, basically, that enable us to get to that level. Getting to that level of consistency and repeatability generates some really good digital marketing.
You talked a lot about ROI. So,
Mhm.
from your perspective, you guys have a lot of clients. What do you really use to monitor, or what do you really track? How do you really track return on investment with digital ad spend? Like, what's the best way to do it?
Well, yeah. So again, at the risk of repeating myself, it starts with setting the parameters and the KPIs, the targets and the benchmarks. But once that's been set, and once we understand what our clients CLV, customer lifetime value, and it is, and also what the value of the lead is, and typically we ask them for low quality, medium quality, and high quality leads, and give us a value for each one of these. So then when we get to work and we generate our campaigns start running, we have a very clear target for what we're trying to achieve, and then it's up to us to then we look at spend and our biddings processes, how much we're willing to spend per click, how these clicks are converting, or what the click-through rates are they converting once they get to where we're sending them to, and so on. So all these elements go into our computation of the ROI. But at the very core of it, we're going to spend X amount of dollars for one of our clients in ad spend on a month. On a given month, and then we have our own fees that we have to add on top of it, because as you can tell, it's a lot of management from our side, and then so that whole spend is going to tell us how and is going to be bounced against how many leads we generated, what the quality of those leads was, and then the computation of the ROI is pretty straightforward.
Do you recommend certain tools to track analytics?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are very basic tools. So if you're doing, for instance, a Google Ads campaign, it can be tied to Google Analytics. So if your website is on Google Analytics, which it should be, it's free, it's very powerful. You have to know how to use it, but it's a great tool. Then it's automatically linked, and you have all the data that you can possibly want, if it's set up properly, right in front of you. And because Google Ads ties to Google Analytics, right? On Facebook campaigns, Facebook does a pretty good job with their insights platform of giving you all the data that you need. But if you're using Facebook to point to a website, Facebook campaign to point to a website, not staying within Facebook, then there are tools like you can use what's called the Facebook Pixel. So then, if you're still using Google Analytics on the back end of your website, you can track all the activity that's happening and all the spending that's happening on Facebook, and have all that data fed into your Google Analytics. So those are the most convenient, the cheapest, and the most efficient tools. If you want to spend more money, there's all kinds of companies that do BI, business intelligence, that can track all kinds of things. But at the most basic level, I think probably 95% of the companies that are out there could probably get by with Google Analytics as a platform to track all these different things.
You guys do a lot of different things. So, how do you go about really developing the best digital strategy for a company?
Well, that's actually, I'm glad you asked that, because that's I think one of our strengths. Is like we have a ton of expertise. We have a ton of data that we've been looking at over the years that tell us what works. And look, the digital marketing space is incredibly complex. Back in the days when I was doing traditional marketing, I have a gray beard and gray hair, so I've been doing this for a long time. In the traditional marketing days, you could do only a couple things. I mean, you could do print, you can do radio, you can do TV, you can do outdoor and PR if you consider that as marketing, and that was pretty much it. Today, the digital marketing landscape is just incredibly complex. There are companies popping up every day, products off the shelf things that you can buy as a company to help you do digital marketing. There's like hundreds of platforms. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, I've seen some charts that represent that universe, and it's very crazy. You know, they're getting every year they're getting more crowded. So what we do for our clients is that we've used most of these tactics, most of these techniques. We've used a lot of these companies before, and we know what works and what doesn't work. And really, where we spend the most time probably is helping our clients navigate that just mess of digital marketing tactics and products, and really have them figure out with them what combination of these different methods or tactics will work best for their given objectives. So that's why we spend a lot of time doing. And we've created actually some packages, which is something that not a lot of agencies do. But we create packages because we know that there are some commonalities in our clientele, and that some companies in some industries really have the same kind of pain points and issues, and that these packages will work for pretty much all of them. But we combine different things in different ways, right? So a typical, I'll give you a quick example. A typical package for us, and probably our most popular package, is what we call word of mouth marketing package, and it includes lead capture, a LinkedIn connection campaign, and I could get into more details, but email marketing, automated emails based on what stage of the sales cycle these leads are at, which we can automate, and we have all kinds of ways to do that. Obviously, it includes content generation, which typically we do. We have a huge group of content writers that we've been relying on for many years, that can write about literally anything. But but the content can be the written word, like blog posts, if you want to call them that. But we also do podcasts and videos and things like that. So so this package, and I could go in way more detail about it, but that package works very, very well for most companies. And because we've done it so many times, and we use our own platform that I mentioned to run these campaigns, we can do it at a cost that's very, very affordable for most small and medium-sized businesses, which is our main target.
One of the things I love about you guys' site is this word of mouth and how it works in digital marketing. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so word of mouth marketing, it's a concept that's been around for quite a bit of about 15 years now. And it comes from a place where, if you do surveys, and there's all kinds of companies that do surveys on a regular basis, but over the years, it's word of mouth. So recommendations, basically from, or referrals from people that you trust in your peer group, in your friends group, in your industry, not celebrities or not maybe influencers necessarily, but those people, is by far the highest motivator for people to actually buy a product or a service. And it applies to B2C businesses, to B2B businesses, but it's even more important on the B2B side, because a typical B2B company will have a smaller addressable market where a B2C compared to a B2C company. So referrals and recommendations, and therefore word of mouth, is way more impactful on the B2B side.
Do you what do you think are some tips to get more people talking about your company and your brand?
Wow. Well, that's, again, at the risk of sounding wishy-washy, it really depends on what situation in the marketplace is, what your competition's doing, what kind of market you're in, what part of the life cycle of your company you're at, and there's very a lot of things, but for for B2B companies, and this is what we focus on at Boomtime, the top kind of couple or 3 layers of the marketing or sales funnel are what we focus on, what we can do have a lot of impact. So, focusing on those, especially the awareness one, the first one, is something that we do a lot of. This is something where word of mouth marketing really helps. So I would, I would say, for a company, the tip would be, make sure your strategy fits. Make sure you have the right strategy in place, that you can track it correctly, measure it, monitor it, that you have all these tools and elements in place, but focus on word of mouth marketing to get that exposure that you're going to need, and that brand awareness that you're going to need to get people to get those leads down the your marketing funnel.
JP, why do you think that somebody should not try to do this on their own, as easy as places like Facebook make it to be to try, and actually work with a company that's proficient, that has strategies like you do, where you even have kind of different packages that work for people? Why do you think the importance is that somebody works with a company that has these kind of strategies developed versus trying this on their own?
Yeah, so that's I was as you mentioned in my quick bio at the beginning of the podcast. I was on the client side for a long time, on the corporate side for a long time, and no, and what you get with an agency is the amount of experience and expertise that would be very hard to generate and to take a long time to generate if you have your own team. And so, and also agencies have, or consultants have, because they've been working with multiple clients over time, have developed a probably broader view and more holistic view of what can be done in digital marketing versus you hiring a small digital marketing team. And in the end, the cost is probably, I mean, the ROI is probably going to be higher. The cost also probably a little bit higher, but in the end, cost is only a factor if the results are not there. So if your ROI is high by using an agency, or higher by using an agency, that can justify the slightly higher cost. But it's mostly, to me, a matter of experience, cumulative expertise, if you want to call it that, and the ability to see also things from a different standpoint, right? As an agency, we have to be on top of anything and everything that's going on in the digital marketing space. And we are. We spend a lot of time just reading and researching and thinking. This is something that you probably wouldn't be able to get by just hiring your own in-house team.
Look, son, I love our talk today. There's so much insight that I think you've given us that's powerful. Where can everybody go to learn more about you guys?
Well, the simplest way is to go to boomtime.com, boomtime.com. But I'm I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. We love to educate as much as getting clients. So we give a lot of advice for free. So we have our own podcast, our own blog. We have we're putting together a digital marketing book of about 175 pages. So yeah, we generate a lot of content ourselves. So you can find me on LinkedIn at looking for JP Clement. And pretty easy to find, and I'll definitely connect with anybody who's interested in chatting more about these kinds of things.
Perfect. Boomtime.com, is that a good place for them to run to as well?
Yeah, boomtime.com, great place to go. We have a lot of content there.
Thanks for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So look, this is essential. I mean, I can't tell you how important it is first of all, what I love about JP is that their organization has already figured out that there's kind of different buckets of clients out there that are better marketing in digital, whether you're newer to it or you're experienced. And they have these different packages that can kind of fit your overall digital strategy, not just Facebook, blah, 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 but your overall digital strategy, which I think is fantastic. And now you have an idea of the importance of analytics, of tracking certain things, of how the stuff is really subjective based on your campaign, of what you should track and what you shouldn't track. So if you want to talk to them, if you want to learn more, they've got a blog, they got so much information on their website. Make sure you find JP on LinkedIn. And again, I'm going to put that information in the show resources page. It's JP Clement. I'm not French, so I can't pronounce it nearly as well as this man pronounces his own last name, but it's JP Clement. I'll go ahead and put a link on LinkedIn, and make sure you check him out at boomtime.com. Ton of resources there that can help you either get started in the digital side or to really develop a well thought out strategy that can help you aggressively scale your business. It all happens with the content that JP's putting out on LinkedIn and at boomtime.com. So make sure you check out those resources to be able to have a lot of success here in 2021 and beyond with digital marketing. Thanks. Have a great day.